Welcome back to the channel, Bridging the Gap Student to Engineer, where STEM professionals provide advice to students. This video is a school deep dive into Drexel University. Like most of our school deep dives, this is a request, so let us know if there are other schools that you don't see in our collection and you'd like information about. We'll go digging and see what we can find. In this case, for Drexel University, they're a private school in Pennsylvania. Drexel has a number of engineering majors and also quite a comprehensive list of options for other majors. As you'll see when we go through the data, they do not have engineering specific data available, but they do have for the entire school. So we'll get what we can out of it as we go through. We're going to start by just talking about what engineering majors they have. They have a pretty comprehensive list of majors that they offer, and the list is here. So architectural, biomedical, chemical, civil, computer, construction management, electrical, engineering technology, environmental, materials science and engineering, and mechanical engineering and mechanics. So quite a wide variety. And then they also have a number of minors and certifications. So in different things like leadership and management, policy analysis, global engineering, robotics and automation, and systems engineering. Those are all minors. You can combine the majors with a minor or even a certificate to really get a solid foundation under you and train you for what career you'd like to have next. So Drexel does not have engineering specific data available on their website. So we're going to look through what they have available, talk about it, see what information we can get out of it. So let's just get right into it. Drexel has a single dashboard available for their student outcomes. The first thing I want to note is that if this was a NACE compliant first destination survey, it would be 6 months out. This is 9 to 12 months out after graduation. And so what that does is it gives the students a little bit more time to get that permanent role or that permanent grad school after they graduate. So the numbers may be a little bit higher than you would see if this was a survey that was given 6 months after graduation. Okay, so let's start with the postgraduate activities. So 84% employed, 12% in grad school, and then 4% no work or grad school. This doesn't tell us if the students were looking to do work or grad school and couldn't get in, or if they're doing something other, like volunteering or going into the military or something like that. So it is pretty unclear, but what we'll see later on their website is they are claiming the 12% plus the 84% as positive student outcomes. So based on that, I'm just going to say that the 4% is the students who were looking for work or school and are not in them. So if that is the case, 96% positive student outcome rate for any school is very high. It's a really good way of knowing that you're choosing a school that is going to put you on a good path to go have the career or the further education that you're looking for. Now, the other thing I want to point out is 12% going to grad school. If this just was engineering data, I would say that's very, very, very low. Even for the schools that are focused on hands-on learning and not necessarily on theoretical learning, which typically leads to more students going to grad school, 12% is about half of what you usually see. So just something to consider if you are wanting to go to grad school. That is great. It looks like they do have undergraduate research opportunities. They are a research school, but you may not be surrounded by a lot of other people who are looking for the same path as you. So if we look at overall job satisfaction and all of the information that follows on the bottom here, they're really just trying to give us a picture of are the students getting jobs that they want after graduation, which is nice. Typically what we see is just, do you have a job? And so it's a little bit hard to tell if the students are getting jobs in the things that they want to do. Co-op relevant to the job is interesting because Drexel's focus on co-op opportunities. While the students are in school, they're required to do a co-op, and then they have the option of doing 3 co-ops and making their school a little bit longer. And so what you'd want to see ideally is that the students are having a co-op, they're getting a full-time job from that co-op, and they are enjoying what they're being placed in their co-op. It looks like, I mean, 83% of the co-ops being relevant to their job that they're working is decent. It's about a third of the students have their current job is with a former co-op employer, as opposed to 47% getting an offer from a former co-op employer, and then 18% or so of those students saying, thanks for the offer, I'm going to go somewhere else. Co-ops and internships are a good way for you to find out what you want to do, or maybe what you don't want to do, maybe what you thought you wanted to do. And so getting a co-op or an internship in an area where you think you're interested in, finding out that's not for you, is just as valuable as having that job, that work experience in an area that you end up loving. It is nice that Drexel is so focused on experience. You can see just from here that having a co-op doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to just go right into working for them full time. That may happen, and that may be a good outcome for you, or you may want to look at other places and find other opportunities after you graduate. The average annual salary, this is really hard to compare with the other schools that we look at, because typically we just look at engineering. It is interesting to me that salary satisfaction is pretty low. That's really just an indication of the students' expectations versus reality, versus some of these other things like, I like the location, I'm really happy about that. Salary tends to be what I was expecting to get when I graduate versus what I'm being offered. So something to just be aware of when you're in school and you hear about all these numbers of salary numbers for grads. Just be a little bit realistic and maybe not expect the world, or expect to get an offer as high as maybe the highest salary offer you've heard. On the other hand, don't sell yourself short, but really, if you can get a couple offers, you have more of an opportunity to compare the salary rather than just taking what you're given. The other page we're going to look at that Drexel provides is their outcome and value page. So I'm just going to scroll down. I'm not going to read all this, but what I'll just point out a few of the data points that they are highlighting on their website. 96% of students are in grad school or have a job within a year of graduation. That is what we saw in the last thing. And so again, a year out makes this possibly a little bit higher than it would be at 6 months, but is excellent numbers, really good numbers. Again, what we saw in the other one, 94% are satisfied with their job. 90% are closely related to studying at Drexel, also good. Okay, and then they get into their co-op employment records. So they're big numbers. There's a lot of employers, there's a lot of students that go on co-op. This co-op salary, I think, is important. And this $22,000 plus for 6 months of salary reflects an hourly rate that is comparable to what we're seeing for engineering internships all over the country. Elsewhere on their site, they talk about that most of their co-ops are paid, and the nice thing about this is if you are paying your way through school or are helping to pay your way through school, having 6 months off where you're not paying for school and you're getting paid really balances out the accounts a little bit and gives you an opportunity to save up a little bit of money or pay last semester's bills before they accumulate. So those are nice things to think about if you are looking at different schools and you're worried about paying. That can offset things a little bit. Okay, and then the 46% of students received a job offer. That was exactly what we saw in the other one. This one is interesting. 91% of Drexel students secured a co-op position during the academic year. So I really like schools that have a strong emphasis on work experience while you're in school. I see comments like, well, this school is better. They, require some experience. So that's all good. It is great. And you really want to have that experience. The issue with requiring the experience is that if employers are not hiring, the school needs to handle that in a way that they are helping you get that job. So in this case, with this metric right here, so 91% of Drexel students secured a co-op position during the academic year. I don't know what happened to the other 9%, if they waited till the summer or they couldn't get a job until the summer, or some other version of they couldn't get a co-op position. And if it's required for graduation, sometimes you can get into a little bit of a hard situation where you have all your class credits and not your work credits. So if you're looking at Drexel or other schools that require work experience, typically they're called co-ops when they're required. If they require that, make sure you ask a lot of questions about what the Career Center does um, when there aren't enough companies hiring students for those positions, to make sure you're comfortable with that. And also make sure that you are going to all the info sessions and doing everything you can to make sure you line up those work opportunities that are required. So the school also talks about their geographic distribution of co-op students' experiences. While the vast majority of them are in Pennsylvania, where the school is located, there are other states where co-ops go. And so it is nice to see that the school has relationships with companies elsewhere and that students can go to other places. That is the limited data available through the Drexel website. If you found this helpful, please like the video and subscribe to the channel for more videos like this, or request a topic of your own, whether that be a specific school review or other topics related to getting into an engineering school, getting through an engineering school, or what to do at the end. With that, say thank you for listening to the end, and we'll see you on the next one.